enjoy in the same way that we must, you know.
The more that we see them like ourselves, the more empathy we have for them. I think humans will begin to realize that we have brethren in the sea and that we can learn
What's up, everybody? Getting a little early.
A lot of wisdom in those big brains out there. Well, the next species that I wanted to
Whales are weird,
share with
man,
you
because
today
like
is
I feel like we've
orca.
already done this. First of all,
Arguably
this
the
man
most
looks like Josh
intelligent
Freese.
animal in the ocean.
I feel like we've already done whales.
Could have dedicated
Like whales
the
have been
rest of my
talked about
life,
forever, and everyone's like, they're majestic. Well, yeah, of course. That's why they're studied.
Their secrets,
so
but for Secrets of the
missing?
Whales, the project, I really wanted to focus on their feeding strategies. The fact that as the most clever animals in the ocean, they could eat anything they want. But they choose
Most clever
very
animals in the
specific
ocean, 'cause
things
I don't
based
go in
on
the
where
ocean.
they live,
Know what I mean?
Again, maybe like humans, and how they were taught by their parents and grandparents. So they're again, all genetically identical, but they're doing things differently in different parts of the world. So one of the locations we worked was Patagonia, Argentina, where there's just 2 families of orca that have developed a taste for sea lions and the pups. And they can only do this at a certain time of the year, and they have to use their echolocation to find natural channels in the ocean floor there. But the matrilineal females, again, have devised these strategies where they will come up on the beach and, grab a little pup and then take it out for their calves to feed on. Now, for the sea lion pup fans in the audience, this little pup did get away, so the orca are not always successful at that, but it's an amazing strategy, and they're the only ones in the world that do it. On the other side of the planet, orca have developed a taste for stingrays. And once again, these older, wiser females move into shallow water mangroves and harbors, and they'll delicately pick up a stingray that's laying on the bottom. They often turn it upside down in what's known as tonic immobility. Some sharks and rays, if you turn them upside down, they go immobile. They sort of paralyzes them. And then members of their family can come over and take a bite. So if you saw the orca episode of Secrets of the Whales on Disney+, you'll know that I just had this amazing moment, one of the best of my career, with this situation. I jumped in the water and I was swimming in New Zealand towards where they were feeding, and this adult female was swimming toward me with this ray in her mouth, and then she dropped it right in front of me. I swam down to the bottom, and it was as if she was inviting me to dinner. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then, she came in and she was looking at me like, well, aren't you going to eat? And when I didn't, then she picked it up and went back and shared the food with her family. Actually, when we were showing this footage, I was on a Zoom meeting with James Cameron a few weeks later, and he gave me a hard time. He says, Brian, you were supposed to eat the ray. You embarrassed us. So anyway, if it happens again, I will take a bite of the ray. But here's that scene from the film. What I saw with these orca was off the scale. This one female adult orca came in and, was sort of checking me out. It was kind of looking at me, checking out the ray. It was kind of like, are you going to have that? Because if not, I'm going to go grab it.
Seeing the story that he already told, but now we're hearing it twice.
She sort of picks it up and almost poses for me. He just kind of lifts her head up. It was really remarkable.
It's a rare glimpse into the mind of an orca.
When you see them underwater, you realize they actually have very rich lives and complex behaviors. How they feed, or what they know about their local waters, how they socialize, their parenting techniques. These animals have culture. Pretty exhilarating to be in the presence of an orca. Well, the last species that I wanted to share with you today is the beluga whale. There we go. An animal that also is very difficult and challenging to study historically because they live in the very high Arctic, places where there's really no infrastructure. If you want to work with belugas, you kind of have to bring everything with you, tents and boats and all your gear and so forth. So the population that I worked with spends the winter time in the waters off of Greenland, where in wintertime it is dark 24 hours a day. And then as the summer emerges and the sun fills the sky for 24 hours a day, they migrate hundreds of kilometers through the northwest passage of Canada to arrive at a place called Somerset Island in the Canadian High Arctic, an uninhabited island where they have been going
Talking about whales,
for
dude.
eons to
Come
have
on,
their
Taryn.
summer holiday, their summer vacation. This is them sort of streaming in. It is a estuary ecosystem. It's a place where a freshwater river flows into the sea that's about 4 degrees warmer than the ocean temperature. The ocean temperature is typically about 29 degrees Fahrenheit, so very chilly water, but that river that flows in is about 4 degrees warmer, and it's a place where they can sort of exfoliate their skin on the gravel bottom, and they can play and have social interactions. You might get as many as 1,000 or 2,000 beluga whales in this very small little estuary place in the summertime. So it's really unique in the animal kingdom. But what I wanted to focus on was what I call the group maternity ward, where in this place you can see dozens or even hundreds of moms and babies at the same time. That's really rare. I'm not aware of that with any other species, certainly not in marine mammals. And you'll see that maybe you can see here that the calves are darker in color. They're born sort of a brownish gray, and sometimes they ride on the back of mom here. Very protected area. They feel safe in these waters. And it was a place that I was told the Canadian government has given some level of protection, so you're not allowed to go diving. You can't go in the water here. So I was able to design with National Geographic and build some remote underwater cameras that produced the very first pictures of this polar playground for these whales. I was a little nervous that they might not come close to the camera, but the dome port that's on the front of, like a lens on the front of that underwater housing, I think it acted like a mirror, and they were seeing themselves in it, so they were sort of hamming it up, going upside down and posing for the camera and so forth. You'll see it's only about 3 feet deep here. And I also was able to, with that system, make the very first picture of a newborn baby beluga here. And it still has the fetal folds, the wrinkles from being in the womb, but right out of the womb, it's a natural-born performer smiling for the camera and having fun while mom is sort of indifferent in the background, looking for a good rock to exfoliate her skin on here. The other thing I was able to do with this underwater camera system was capture something that was a real surprise, and that was gameplay amongst beluga whales. I had done a cover story for National Geographic a few years ago about dolphin intelligence, very closely related to belugas. And one of the ways that I showed that dolphins were intelligent is because they play games. They'll pick up leaves or seaweed in the water and they play a game of catch. But we didn't know that belugas do it. But what they use instead of leaves or seaweed is they pick up a perfect little stone, a perfect pebble, and then they carry it around in their mouth for a while. Obviously, it just makes them happy. And then they drop it, and inevitably another whale comes over and picks the same one up. I don't understand all the rules of the game, but again, if I had been in the water here, I probably never would have gotten a picture like this. They would have been too frightened to come close to me, but with this passive remote camera system, I was able to make these pictures of gameplay with belugas. Pretty fun behavior. So I have another little video clip. This was not from Secrets of the Whales. This was a little director's cut that I edited for today, for D23, that might give you a little more insight into this magnificent polar playground with these charming white whales. So let's have a look.
Weird looking creatures, man. They look kind of like sea lions. And brown boys. Hey, dome head. That boy upside down, scraping his big old Rihanna forehead on the ground.
Pretty charming whales. Well, as I wind down this afternoon, I just wanted to offer some final thoughts. So what are we to do with this knowledge about whales,
What's up, Aaron?
about these families and complex societies living in the sea? You know, these are species that swam Earth's oceans long before humans even existed and possess a wisdom and many secrets that we're just beginning to understand. Yet, our behaviors, our actions or inactions somewhat determine their fate. You know, although we are terrestrial creatures and often see our planet from that terrestrial-centric viewpoint, we very much live on an ocean world, on an ocean planet. 98% of our biosphere where life can exist is ocean, and every other breath that we take comes from the sea, no matter where you live. But today, so much of our ocean planet is suffering from these anthropogenic stresses. You know, in the last 60 or so years, we've taken 90% of the big fish out of the ocean. We have lost half the world's coral reefs. We dump 18 billion pounds of plastic into the ocean, and we expel so much carbon into the atmosphere that we're changing the ocean's chemistry. Ocean acidification is eroding many of the things that live there. So my hope is that what we take away from these secrets of the whales are those things that we already know, that nature is precious and beautiful, but fragile, and that through exploring these fascinating lives of whales, we actually see ourselves. And we remember that the things that whales celebrate and cherish are the things that we too hold dear: family, community, identity, and joy. My hope is that our takeaway is less about a need to specifically save whales, but rather to be reminded of just how magical our planet really is. And with these reminders and revelations, if you will, we become better caretakers of our planet and protect what we love.
Hasn't happened
And in
yet,
doing
dude.
so,
They've been
we not
doing this
only
shit
save
for like
whales,
50 years.
but
So
save
I don't
everything.
know what you're hoping for.
So I just wanted to
buddy.
end today with a little quote from one of my favorite authors, a guy named Henry Beston, who wrote a book up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, in 1928 called The Outermost House. And in that book, he spoke beautifully about nature in a way that speaks to what I have learned throughout my decades of exploring the ocean and telling stories about it visually. In his book, Beston said this: "We need another and a wiser and perhaps a more mystical concept of animals. We patronize them for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate of having taken form so far below ourselves. But therein do we err. For the animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete, gifted with the extension of senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and the travails of the earth." Thank you very much.
Yay!
Thank you.
I mean, you did great, buddy. You're very passionate. You know, you clearly have a passion for fucking whales and shit, and that's cool. But okay, whales have been done, dog.
Lend a hand, me hearties. Aye, aye, Franklin.
Hauling on a whale skeleton right up at the whales. Damn, that's ruthless. Oh, it's a boat.
All you do is put it together.
Weird.
And now, from the beautiful rolling hills and magnificent vistas from Lantau Island, please welcome the 2022-2023 Hong Kong Disneyland Resort Ambassadors,
And here we
Lily
are, only
Chan
5 minutes
and
late.
Tony Dick.
Lily Chan and Tony Dick. I don't know why he had to enunciate that man's last name so hard, but he did. And I appreciate him for it. Lily Chan and Tony Dick. Guys, you get it?
大家好. Oh, hello everyone.
Hi, everyone.
It's so wonderful to be here at Walt Disney World Resorts with so many fellow Disney fans.
That's right, Lily. We're so excited to be here today on the first day of Destination D23 with you all.
We would like to invite you all to Hong Kong Disneyland Resorts as we will soon debut World of Frozen, featuring 2 amazing adventures.
Yes, Lily. As you all heard this morning, we're all so excited in Hong Kong and Hong Kong Disneyland.
Why are we doing this?
Because we recently
We're supposed to
announced
be
that on November
cruise line.
20th, we're opening the gates of World of Frozen.
We already talked about this earlier this morning.
And we continue to celebrate 100 years of Disney with everyone.
That's so true. It's a year of so many anniversaries. It's Mickey's 95th birthday, the 50th anniversary of the classic animated feature Robin Hood, the 40th anniversary of Disney Channel, and the 30th anniversary of Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's true, Lily. All things to be excited about. In fact, Lily and I have traveled over 8,000 miles from Hong Kong to be here today and to celebrate with you all. And that's why the next celebration we resonate with very well, because this corner of the world of Disney knows a little something about travel mileage. I am, of course, talking about Disney Cruise Line's Silver 25th anniversary. I mean, who doesn't love going on a beautiful Disney cruise ship all out in the oceans?
To help us celebrate this wonderful milestone, please welcome a veteran of over 3 decades with Walt Disney Imagineering, producer Diego Paris.
Like, they have at least 3 other cameras. Where are they? They just have one cameraman. They can't cut away to this shot. They have to... Look at this. See? God.
Well, I'm not Diego Paris.
Terrible.
Hi,
Hope.
So, my name is Pam Rollins. I'm the executive producer for Walt Disney Imagineering.
You're having a
and I am
great
very
time.
excited to have you all join us today. We are very excited to help Disney Cruise Line celebrate 25 years of bringing magic on the ship. So, we have images behind us. There to your right and left. Great, great. So, to be able to begin this story, we have to go back to the original design. And our Imagineers were challenged with an out-of-tradition tradition. In fact, it became our overall goal. And as we embarked in that voyage, we took us to
Aaron,
the
this is the way it's
romance
been
and
the
grandeur
entire morning.
of the floating palaces
it's
of yesteryear,
it's terrible.
The famous luxury liners that
Bad.
crossed the North Atlantic on the first half of the 20th
What's up, booger?
century. And as you can see on this slide, here are some of our initial
I don't know what it
ideas
is.
for the designs of our ships.
No, don't turn the light on. I don't want to turn the light.
Focused on incorporating Disney into the overall ships. Clearly,
sit on my- sure,
it was more
Alice.
difficult than we thought. I
You gotta be
really
quiet,
like
'cause I
that
wanna listen
top
to this.
right-hand corner. Not sure how that would pull that off. At the time of the mid-1990s, Michael Eisner was the chief executive officer of the Walt Disney Company, and he had fond memories as sitting as a little boy watching his grandparents set sail on the Queen Mary for Europe. This was the initial seed of where our inspirations would come from. Later, Michael was aboard the Mauretania for her final voyage. He remembered this was an enormous amount of fun. Those images of classic ships stayed with Michael throughout the project. He said, "It is the romance I feel that our guests are seeking." And with those words, we had clear direction on where we would eventually land with our designs. Also, you remember, Walt Disney loved a lifelong fascination of travel.
Why are
and
they?
the adventure
They're spending
of
time
seas.
just
He
like
played a pirate game as
excusing
a
the fact that
boy
they want to have a
and
cruise
later
line.
crossed
Like they're
the
justifying
Atlantic
having a cruise line,
to
and I
serve
don't
as
like.
an
You don't need
ambulance
to. You don't need to
driver
tie
in
everything
France
into.
during World
Well, you
War
remember
I.
Walt took a boat
He
once.
and his wife Lillian
So
and their
therefore,
family
now we have a
throughout
cruise
the
line. Like,
lifetime
who
together
cares? It's just you have a
enjoyed
cruise line.
vacations
I'm gonna bring
of
cool
ocean
stories.
liners.
I don't know.
And that was very apparent in our early short films, including Alice's Day at Sea in 1924. Of course, our groundbreaking first sound
think it's a movie that
cartoon of Steamboat Willie in 1928, just to name a few of those inspirations that came from those travels. So now we're getting a little closer. Our second round of our design competition, you can see those guiding design principles take shape. But we're not there yet.
Take ship. Haha. Take shape.
As we continue to hone in all the details that we show here on these screens, the classic black hull, or as we know it in Imagineering, Monica Blue, but I'll tell you that story later, started to take shape. And you can see some of the design details that we took from the inspiration of Mickey Mouse. In fact, those lifeboats that are yellow, we had to get special permission from the Coast Guard to use that color to change what traditionally is a different color. So this is all now taking shape. Our classic feature lines of fleets only require one modern ship. 2 funnels are typical, and so we wanted that classic look to add those 2 funnels. So what do we do with that? It gave us great inspiration of all the things that we could do within that space. Other design details are the sculpted hull with the classic curves, the
it's a cool looking
raking yellow
boat. What do you think,
spring
Alice?
line from the bow of
The
the
boat
ship
cool
to
looking?
the stern.
Yeah,
all
man, why
gave us
not?
that modern classic look, a sleek and elegance that sets us apart from all the other ships on the high seas. And ultimately, we arrived
open
on our
those for you?
final design
Can we
of the
open those
Disney
for you?
Magic. These original design principles have continued to guide us on every ship since then. And after 25 years sailing on the high seas, we continue to set ourselves apart even before you arrive to your ports of call. The truly overall experience you're about to undertake is even before you set on the ship.
I mean, it's a fancy looking boat. I'll tell you
Disney
that.
Cruise Line also revolutionized the cruise industry. We designed our ships with families in mind. We have
Yeah, I mean, Aaron, you're not
wonderful
wrong.
Theater, Broadway-style theater in the Walt
but
Disney Theater.
I guess it's just
we bring
don't
water attractions to
it
see.
seems like
with
they
the
want to
Aqua
have a cruise
Mouse
line,
the
and then
Aqua
they
Duck.
figured out why
We have
later.
fireworks at sea. And
Like,
we
not everything
have
needs
our
a story. I
own
mean, they're not redesigning a
private
ship; they're
island
designing a
castaway
ship, right?
key.
It's like
All these set us aside.
I don't know.
Whoa, I forgot one more. Rotational dining, which all started with Animator's Palette. Yeah. What I also love about our Disney ships is the unique personalities, and we do this in so many different ways, and often not noticeable to our guests. And these surprise and delights is what makes this, being a part of these design teams, so special. So from the filigree that greets you once onto the ship, into our beautiful, majestic atriums of the magic, the wonder, and the fantasy, to our newest grand halls, the Disney Wish and Disney Treasure. These spaces not only welcome you and your family, but this is where we start to create those fantastical stories that you will begin on your journey of that vacation. It's all about
Right.
creating
Sort of my
memories
point,
from
Aaron.
you and your family and your friends.
They didn't just build
What
this
also
from
is a
scratch, right?
special, unique trait is our Disney characters that adorn each of our atriums and Grand Hall. They also bring a special magic to these places, and they embody everything we do about placemaking and storytelling on the Disney ships. So, as we land today, where this magic meets the sea and celebrating our 25 years, I want to bring up to you a panel of our designers that have been part of our journey for building the Disney Cruise Line. I'm going to start. Let's see. So starting with our panel, Pete Leathers, Senior Show Manager.
This is very painful.
Jason Roberts,
I'm sort of
senior
regretting
creative
it, but now I
producer.
gotta truck on through, man. This is.
Jay Abruzzi's
I don't know what I
principal
was thinking
show
when I picked this
production
one
designer.
to stream, but whatever.
Alexis Cummins, principal graphic designer.
Alexis.
Diego Paras, who was announced earlier, not only is our producer, but also our moderator today.
Hi, Diego.
Philip Janot, our project management executive for the portfolio for Disney Cruise Line.
I
And
can't
Kristen
quit,
Ziegler,
Aaron. I'm not going to do
principal
it.
set
I'm not going to do
decorator.
it to you.
Hi, Diego. You gotta love it. Well, thank you so much for having us out here. And I wanted to thank everybody on the panelists for being here. One of the things that we really wanted to do is to try to get into the overall design of how we design ships, and we couldn't have the most amazing disciplines right here. So we were going to just kind of like jump right into it because we don't have that much time. I'm looking for the clock where it is. There's. So Philip, we're going.
Plenty of time.
I know.
Right,
Philip,
do that
we're going to go ahead and start with you, Philip, because and this is kind of a little bit of a open-ended question here, but
This guy seems like he knows how to
start,
manage a
right?
panel,
You
so
kinda, like,
I'm
have
excited
a lot of
now.
development that basically happens with the ships, but at the end of the day, you're really responsible for cutting that first piece of steel and really start that, what we know of the construction of the actual ship. So kind of give us a little bit of a background to what it takes to get to that day for us to do that.
How much time did we have?
We don't have that much time, so.
Farted on
Like
me?
you said, it
Thanks,
is
man.
something very unique, very complex, and we could talk about this for hours, how to do this. But there is one thing that I think is worth mentioning. When a cruise ship is being built, you do go through all of these design, engineering, etc. You cut steel, but then for such a complex product to be built, you do build it in a very lean way. And one of the ways is actually building it in so-called blocks. So it really, when you slice it up in pieces and then build each block at a time and then put it together, that's really one of the key moments, how you really manage to do a
I hope
complex
everything
thing
fits
like that.
together, dude.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about the facility. I still remember the first time that I was there, and it's just absolutely massive. You would think that we would actually, you're building a
I don't
cruise
know,
ship right
Hope.
near the
I'm not
ocean,
really
but we're
good at
actually
math.
roughly, I think, 100 miles inland. And
You
I
tell
remember
me.
The first time that we
You could be
just
my
drove up
official
to it,
fact
it's just
checker.
massive. My understanding is that if you were to stand one of our ships straight up, is a little bit longer than the Empire State
Can I help
Building,
you?
and within the main building, you can actually put 1.5 ships, and you can actually fly a 747 through that building. So pretty amazing, and a lot of those blocks are actually built in that building.
It's really very special. The shipyard we chose to build our Disney Wish and our Disney Treasure and the ship after that, they are really, really awesome. They are the best partners you can think of. But one of the key things that's so special about them is they build our ships indoors. It's this huge hall, and by building it inside, of course, you can imagine the quality and everything, and it's just so much easier. You're not dependent on the weather, not the wind or whatever, and that's really the key, isn't it? So they're building all of these blocks inside, they put all the blocks into a dock inside the hall, complete the entire ship, and then, of course, you've got those great moments where the ship finally floats out of the hall, and you've got that main reveal. So a lot of things going there.
Yeah, and one of the things, it was really kind of hard for a lot of, because you can imagine there's so many different teams that actually work on the ships. And one of the things that Philip did, he actually built this model out of wood that contained every single one of those blocks for people to be able on the project team to understand how they actually get placed at specific times. We're going to go ahead and open it up a little bit more on the creative side. So anybody can just kind of like jump in. But how do we start thinking about, I don't want to say the spaces, but the stories that we want to tell in these spaces? Any thoughts behind that?
Well, I like to start first. I think what's really unique about the Disney Cruise Line is we have the ability to unlock this treasure chest of stories. You know, it's not a place setting or a time and place. We can unlock so many stories, what we call our Disney treasure chest, and include those in from bow to stern in all the spaces. And it can be in a very sophisticated level where it's just inspired, or we can totally immerse our guests, such as learning animations magic, learning how to draw, and then seeing your drawings up on board. So I think that's what's exciting about and different than we can do in some of the other theme parks and resorts.
Do all of those stories kind of like tee up of the overall motif of what that ship
They
represents?
do. They're
or-
all tied into the motif. That's really where we start first. And it also is explained by the character we might decide that's in the Grand Hall, or even our stern characters. They're all tied in to a story.
Yeah. Going back to kind of like the construction, and again, everybody can just jump in. Everybody's pretty much worked on multiple different projects throughout the
You
years.
did? Hope
Walt
I
Disney
missed it. Could you
Imagineering.
post it again,
What's the difference
please?
between building something that's land-based than building something that is going to actually float on the ocean? Any thoughts behind that?
Yeah, I think for me coming into it and
Use your microphone.
the-
There you go.
As Philip was saying, the scale, the scope and scale of these ships it's unbelievable. The first time I took a look at that ship, it's like, wow, that's crazy. But it's not. I mean, it's a hotel, it's a theme park, it's restaurants, it's theaters, it's all of this into this big vessel that's, you know, an ocean-going vessel that sails around the world in all these different places. And we have to condense all of that, not really condense, but distill it, if you will, into this big thing. And Philip talking about the blocks, what was incredible to me was that you might have blocks of the ship that are like practically ready to go. You might have a stateroom that's like you could stay in it already, and yet there's other parts of the ship that we're just getting started on. So seeing that how different the timelines can be, and again the scale, to me that is probably the biggest difference from a land-based project.
I think too, just from a personal standpoint, many people may not know this, but we live on the ships really for an extended period of time. And so I think that's an adventure of working on Disney Cruise Line. It's something that makes it very different, right, than a land-based theme park project, is we are very, very close to our work. And so, yeah, whether that's during a dry dock, which we might talk about later, for some of our current ships or a brand new ship, it's a super fun opportunity.
Live on the ship. That's
and
kind of
work
neat.
kind of in the same environment.
Continuing on that, can you
Stink
kind of
up
like
the
touch base on all the
hallways
different
already?
disciplines of teams that need to come together, whether it's the shipyard and Disney Cruise Line and Walt Disney Imagineering? Talk a
Your
little bit
star,
about
Hope. Thank
what
you.
that partnership is like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that honestly, it's this diverse kind of international experience. We work with the shipyard teams. Of course, you know, we have all of our
really
partners that
pretty,
we
huh?
work with. We work with our crew members from all around the world who really bring our spaces to life. And so that's a really special part of being involved in Disney Cruise Line, is just all the different people from all over the world that really help to bring these stories
Oh
to
my
life.
goodness, dude. Go
really
away.
important to-
You just farted and it
to
stinks.
try and grasp that we're trying to include every type of technology, every type of design, or
And you
every
are still.
kind of work that needs to be done is all combined together. And we're working with truly the best teams in the world. We have an incredible partner with the shipyard. We are working with many, many vendors that are coming from all over the world to do very specialized things. We're working with an incredible cruise line. I mean, they really know their product. They help us to bring that ship to life. But then within Imagineering itself, we cover all of the various disciplines that you have, because everything is included. I mean, you said it really well. Yeah, the ship is like a hotel, but yeah, she doesn't only float, she actually sails somewhere. And that hotel, well, the crew lives on board, right? They don't go home at the end of the day. And we have a main grand theater in there. We have a grand hall in there. We have pools. We've got a spa. Everything is included in that ship. So you need to think of all the various people that you need to actually pull that off.
Let's get into some of those specifics, and Alexis, I'm going to be looking at you. Alexis, she's our graphics extraordinaire. She's worked on so many different projects, land-based, but how does the cruise portfolio and the way that we design and build graphics differ from anything else that we've done?
So what's really interesting about Disney Cruise Line and designing for Disney Cruise Line is the scale. I know we touched on that earlier, but I, as a graphic designer, sometimes interface with things that are much larger than life. I mean, we're working on logos that end up on the back of a ship, and we're working and thinking about those details all the
I
way
bet
down
you can post
to,
whatever you
what the
want,
police
dude.
settings
This is
look
your
like and
this
what
is
the
your
menus
chat
look
now.
like, and all of these different things that guests are able to interact with more closely over the series of a few days. So what I think is also great is being able to incorporate those details that people may not get on their first visit, but they will definitely get through the course of a cruise or as a repeat guest. And those are things that I think surprise and delight from a design perspective, too.
So on a specific, any of the ships, right? How many? Can you throw a number out there? Like how many different pieces can you actually work throughout the lifespan of that project?
Oh, wow, it's a lot. We have thousands of graphics that we work on. I think the last I checked, it was in the 40,000 range of produced pieces. So when we talk about scope and scale, it's a lot of different pieces. And I also think what's interesting is design interfaces beyond from what we might think of as a traditional graphic design. So it's not just menus and printed collateral. It extends into things like our stateroom blankets,
look at that
or within our cinemas, we're talking about lighting and graphics that go on the walls that are actually embroidered. So it's a lot of different things that you might not necessarily get on that first read, but that's what we get to do, and it's lots of fun.
And it shows because they're absolutely beautiful throughout the entire ship. Kristen, talking a little bit about Kristen, she's our prop master. Talk to us about props. How do props immerse guests into the stories within that environment that you're having them walk into?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, echoing kind of what Pam said earlier, what I love about Disney Cruise Line is we get to work with a multitude of stories all kind of within this one giant ship. And so really, I love that, yeah, we have the opportunity. We're kind of like, you know, a little cherry on top or sprinkling of magic after
I read that as
gigantic
Assassin's
ship.
Plate
and
got
yeah,
kind of excited
I love that about
for a
it.
second.
And there's a lot of logistics, honestly, that go behind just bringing even the smallest prop on board. So I'll use, you know, our most recent ship as an example, the Disney Wish. In 1923, if any of you have dined there, it's a beautiful celebration of Disney animation. There are over 1,000 props just in that one restaurant, let alone the entire ship. And there's just attention to detail in every piece. It was funny, I was talking to one of our amazing Disney animators just yesterday, and they were commenting on a piece in our Bambi case. And it's this kind of articulated skeletal model of Bambi that was actually used as inspiration in the making of the animated film.
I love these
And
construction
they first told me,
photos,
they
man.
said,
That's what
"How
I
did
guess
you
I'm
get
really
that?"
here for.
There's
'Cause this
only
kind of
one
shit
of those
is
that
awesome.
exists, and it's like, and I'm like, oh no, like we got research photos from the Animation Research Library, made it, but like even a Disney animator goes, wow, like the attention to detail just in that one piece in a restaurant where there's 1,000 props. That's what we really strive to do. It's attention to detail and yeah, bringing Disney magic no matter what storyline we're working on.
Yeah, and just to kind of talk about this one here, because it was actually really special for the team, but that little wood model that Philip actually came up with to teach us all about how these blocks are basically built to build this ship, we ended up, well, Kristen, you and Philip can tell the story of how we had this little celebration at the very end. Go ahead, take it.
Philip, go for it. It's your baby.
It was a special moment. We thought of this model as an educational model for the team mainly as well, to try and explain what's coming, how it's going to happen, what block is going to go next, etc. And as it happened in the pandemic, we all remember, right? We did
Melinda,
have to
you're
work
right.
from home quite a bit.
I don't know,
We
man.
had
I
to
think
use the model
if I go on a cruise
non-stop,
again, I think it'll
virtually
be a
ready
Disney
to show everyone
cruise, just to look at the
you know,
ships, man.
share it with everyone. But then at one point in time, one of the team members comes to me and said, Philip, can we have that model? Whoa, I wasn't ready for that one. I did spend quite a few hours like in my hobby room, but then I said, why not? It's had its use. We've used it so many times now. So it made it into the Grand Hall, and it was a great moment. Chris and I thank you so much for that. It was a really special moment. So it's there. So if you go and see it, you might find it. The model, yep, it's ours, right?
Yeah, so anybody that sails, as soon as you go into the Grand Hall, if you go to the left-hand side right there, the model's actually right there.
We had to pry it out of his hands. So.
Yeah. Jason, paint.
What? Oh, sorry.
It's something that you would never really kind of like think of, right? When you're looking at a cruise ship. All I remember through all these years is just seeing you running around and painting this and painting that. Tell us a little bit about how that helps us tell the story and the overall experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I probably have the best job of anybody. You know, a little bit biased, obviously, but I get to make everything look pretty at the end of the day. So, you know, you'll find me sometimes on the back of the stern, hanging off the back of the ship, working on one of the characters there. You'll find me in the kid spaces, working in our spaces there with our partners. That's, you know, to me, that's the best part about it. It's the partnership that I get to work with, not only with like graphics and props. I work with them every day as well when it comes to IP type things. But then I get to reach out with our Pixar partners, our Marvel partners, our Star Wars partners. So that's the best part about it. Yeah.
And it's one of those, just the countless level of detail of sitting there for hours and hours. One of the fortunate things that I've been able to do is capture a lot of the things of building the ships, and just how many hours you would just sit there and try to film, and having the discussion of placement of like the eyes and what it's looking at. It's really amazing work that you get to do. With all of this, right? I mean, the ships, they
Can't
do
tell if
have
that was
to go
sarcastic or
into
not.
dry docks
We're going to talk for
every
hours about
couple
placement
years.
of eyes on characters.
So Pete, I know that you get to work a lot about that. Can you tell us what the dry docks are like and what we get to do?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because every couple of years we get the chance to update the ships. And so sometimes it's leveling the top deck and putting in a new water slide or the Aqua Lab on the Magic. And then other times we've removed the kids area in Oceaneers Club.
It's like a place where you go to like
completely
custom
replaced
make
it with
perfume
new
and cologne.
Toy Story room and Marvel room, and it's really cool. And we have so many different teams that are working on this, between show set, special effects, graphics, props, paint. I mean, it's an army.
Looks like
of
this man is
people.
missing a
And
leg.
when we go to dry
The
dock,
way the
I mean,
chair's
it's
situated.
scheduled down to the hour. You know, you work 24 hours a day. Sometimes it's only a 2-week dry dock, and you have to completely remove what's there before and then install everything in just a couple of weeks. So, like
I
Kristen was
missed it,
saying,
Hope. Could
when
you
are doing a
post
dry
it
dock,
again,
you live
please?
on the ship, so you're there, all night, all day long, working in these areas. It's
We
pretty
also
amazing.
I was going to say, Philip, anything from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you always make it sound so easy, right? Oh yeah, we're just going to dry dock and we'll just put a new slide on there, a new space. A cruise ship sails 365 days a year, non-stop. You know, the ship you never turn it off. It's a living thing. But of course, after a few years, you do need to go into a dry dock, meaning you go into a dock, you drain the water, so she's sitting dry out of the water, so you can actually go underneath as well. You can look at the propellers, the thrusters, the rudders, just to make sure everything is okay, because you can't do that in port. You can do a lot of things on a cruise ship, but not that. So every so often you go in and you know, okay, we need to go in there, we need at least a week to do some repairs or maintenance things, but then during that week, we're like, right, we're ripping out this thing, replacing it, and new IP in there. But it is the most stressful thing that happens, right?
It's very challenging, but we got a lot of really smart people that work on the team that really surgically schedule how this is all going to work. So it takes years of planning to get these installed, but it's pretty exciting.
Like 2 years of planning and 10 days to make it work. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Because she needs to sail again, right? I mean, at the end, she needs to go out there, and there's
then
maybe
she
some
needs
of you
to
have
sail
already
and
booked
pick up.
this cruise, and you're waiting for the ship, so yeah.
So how do you balance that overall relationship between, the creative and everything that you're coming up with of what these spaces are going to look like, but at the same time, from the technical side, because these things actually have to physically happen on the ship, what is that coordination of that, or that partnership like?
Well, you should see the schedules. It's crazy. I mean, everyone is, as soon as we demo an area to get ready to put something new in, we're right there. We're ready, and we do a lot of staging beforehand. I mean, not only just the mock-ups that we do to go approve things and materials, but the staging of it. So it's all ready to go as soon as that room is ready, and then there's inspections and completion. And then Jay comes back in and then ties it all into us, or Kristen comes in to add the last special props. It is the coordination and the partnership with Disney Cruise Line together with the creative team and with the production team is we have to be there. We sit at tables and we go through, like, I think it's twice, once in the morning and once in the evening. And we go through each of the spaces and say what our concerns are, what the risks are, but we make it happen.
So with all this being said, what do you think really sets Disney Cruise Line apart?
I think it's the attention to detail.
You know what? You could have
think,
paid me. I would have bet
Jay
$20
mentioned,
bucks
like,
that would have
Star
been
Wars
exactly what
room.
I was going
I
to
think
say.
all the people that are working
It's always
on
what
it
it
are
is.
so passionate.
Which is good.
and
I mean,
they get
that's,
all the
it's not
details
a bad
right,
thing, but like,
so
of course.
when you walk into that space, it feels right. And I think that attention to detail is really what makes the difference.
And there is actually one detail in here. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, he should.
Porgs.
Oh, we're going to tell this
This is a
story?
good
Are we allowed
one.
to tell this story?
They're not taking notes.
Don't take notes? Okay. Yeah, so where do I start with this? So
this is really the attention to detail that everybody goes into.
yeah, we were, it was late one night. We were finishing up on the Wish, and we're working in the cargo bay of the kids' space. And in that, there's an interactive game that children can play when they're there. And there's porgs, and the porgs fly around the room, and we have our animatronic porg, which is, he's gorgeous, he looks great. And I said, well, you know, birds fly around, birds poop, right? Like, wouldn't there be poop everywhere in this room? You know, it should be gross. And so everyone, we kind of laughed about it, and so I was like, started thinking more about it. So I go back to my room, I put the films on, I start looking through them, looking for reference. I can't find anything about porg poop. It doesn't exist. So we get on the horn, and we call our partners at Star Wars and Lucas, and they say, we've never thought about it either. Go for it, make it. So we put porg poop in the Star Wars room, and I got to do something with canon. So
Your inspiration, what bird was your inspiration?
we just went with the penguins, the typical penguins. Yeah, you know, we looked at a lot of reference, and yeah, my daughter will love that I told this story because she gets a kick out of it. So, thanks, Diego.
Imagine just getting paid for looking at penguin poop for hours and trying to match
Really
color. That'd be kind of funny.
That you love.
You start from the exterior. I'm sure many of you have seen our ships, or you've seen the photos now as well. It doesn't take long for you to immediately recognize the ships. Whether it's the colors, whether it's the curves, whether it's the funnels, the sleek look of the ship. We do go that extra mile, and that's what's important, right? So we even put in curved parts of the ship where it's not really necessary. Most people probably would never realize it, and the shipyard goes, oh, really? Another curved piece of steel? Oh. But no, that's what we do. But then they actually realize, even the shipyard workers, right, they're so proud at the end of when the ship comes out, they're all standing there, wow. We have yard workers coming up to us and say, please, can we work on this ship? You know, they're working on this other ship at the moment. And I think that's special, isn't it? So it starts with just the looks. The ships are absolutely gorgeous. And that's not just me. I think we all agree, right?
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, that overall look, I don't know how everybody feels about it, but in a corny way, one of the things, whenever I'm driving out to the coast and you see the water for the first time and you're going over the overpasses, and the first thing that you're doing, you're looking and it's like, where are the ships? And I mean, just having that feeling that really sets everything apart. Let's get into a little bit about working, because you mentioned some of our partners, right? So what's it like to be able to work with our partners at the studio, at Pixar, at Lucasfilm?
Who's going to talk? You want me to talk? Okay.
Yeah, right. We do deal with all these partners, and they're great partners, and they love to see us interpret their stories on our ships too. So we start talking with them from the very beginning. We want to get them on board with it, and we meet with them, oh gosh, weekly almost, and we seek their input. We want to get it right too, and they want to help us get it right. And all these folks up here who are, again, so into the details. I mean, it's fun working with them
I just have this
and
stupid
doing all the
light in my
research.
face,
I mean,
man.
we've all watched the movies time and time again just to get those details. But it's a great partnership, and we love the opportunity to tell those stories all across the fleet.
Well, no, I was just say that's one of my favorite parts is collaborating with Pixar and the Walt Disney Animation Studios, and then sometimes we introduce something new to them each and every time. I mean, everyone heard today, you know, the Disney Adventure that's coming out. I mean, and we've been able to work with them very closely and to understand that region and the stories that we can tell that really have not been introduced in the Southeast Asian, and it's a region that I think it's untapped for us, and Pixar and Walt Disney Animation and Lucasfilms is just so excited to be part of this journey with us.
Walt Disney Animation?
It's a really great feeling, and they take a lot of pride in it too. When the ships launch, they get just as, you know, teary-eyed. I think the story we talk about, Kristen talked about 1923, and we always said this was our love letter to the animators. And you know, she talked to some of them last night, and we've been able to bring them on the ships, and they just, I don't know, they just fall in love with it.
So what I was thinking of is they're great collaborators. I love and I look forward to a lot of those meetings that we have on an ongoing basis, because oftentimes when we all collaborate together, we come up with, you know, really great ideas, better ideas, I think, than when we work independently often.
Such a weird angle, like you can tell it's just sort of
going
this
back to one of my favorite details,
like,
one of my
ratio,
favorite details is
that looks cool as hell, man.
The stateroom corridors have these wonderful light fixtures that we created that are custom, And in working with our partners at Animation Studio, we got to be able to do that custom work and really, again, like down to the tiniest detail, we're able to incorporate something like that on something that could have just been a simple light, but we went back and added that really Disney difference to it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, right, everything that we get to work on and all the hard work is for all of our guests. That are
I'm trying, but it's such a tongue twister. I want to get it right first before I
What are you really
do it
hoping
on the
that
microphone, you know?
they take away from the experience?
Well, this is something I always say, it's not, I don't have a particular thing, and this was the same feeling I always had when I was doing land-based projects, but is knowing that our guests are creating these
go
memories
back to that shot, man. I
with
hate
their
that
friends
their
and family. I said
slideshows
it earlier.
just going too fast.
And
I wanted
then
to see that.
I see it on Facebook
That
or
was
social
fun.
media, and I'm like, oh, cool, I know all about that. And
Ooh, Guyana's playing
I think
Antigua
that's
and
really
Barbuda right
special, and it's heartwarming to me that guests want to come and see what I've designed, the team's designed and a part of. And I think it's just like when the rope drops at the Magic Kingdom on a new attraction for us. It's that when they embark into the Grand Hall or the atrium, they're starting to make memories, and they keep those for a lifetime.
I'd also add, like I said, even when you start with the yard workers, our own teams of people, our crew, but our guests as well, it's emotions. Everyone has their own story, and everyone's going to do that cruise with a different background. And maybe it's celebrating something, maybe it's doing it again because it was so great. But it is the emotions. I even feel it myself. When I do go over the overpass and I see the ship again, oh, yeah, there she is. Isn't she gorgeous? It's emotions, isn't it? And that's what we all like. And I actually believe that's one of the key
Isn't she
things that
gorgeous?
somehow we're always trying to do. Whatever we do, we'll try to create those emotions for all of our guests, for everyone who works on it, lives on it, sails on it, and has a vacation or whatever. That's really what we're trying to do.
Anyone else?
And I think it's just really gratifying too. Like you work on the Disney Wish for 6 years, and you put your heart and soul into it, and to be able to share it with your family or your friends, it's really gratifying seeing your friends and family enjoying what you've worked so hard on too.
Yeah, and being able to be on board sometimes with our guests and hearing the comments that they make when they experience something, there's nothing like that. That's really gratifying.
I know just a personal story. So in 3rd grade, I received a package in the mail, and it was the original Disney Cruise Line vacation planning VHS. Yes, I still have the song memorized, but I will not perform it for you this morning. But little did I know, my grandparents had actually planted this in the mail and sent it to me. And me and my brother were ecstatic. We watched this movie weekly, and I'm like, I want to go on that. I want to go on this Disney ship. It's amazing, the magic at the time. And again, little did I know, my grandparents planted it so they could take us on a Disney cruise in 3rd grade. And the theme of this trip was, this is a once-in-a-lifetime vacation, guys. This is an amazing once-in-a-lifetime vacation. And I remember my family repeating that, and now it's so amazing and rewarding. And what a responsibility to stand back and go, this thing that I said was a once-in-a-lifetime vacation is now what I get to do for a job. Yeah. And now I have the responsibility to transfer that magic to the next 3rd grade Kristen, who's, watching saying, wow, I want to go on that Disney cruise ship. So I think that's what it means to me to work on Disney Cruise Line. Just a super, super special experience and responsibility.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And to that, I was going to say,
that's great.
and we can just kind of like go down the line. But personally, how does it make you feel like being able to be on this cruise line portfolio? Because I know all of you have been working on it for many, many years. How does it personally make you feel that you're a part of that?
Man, this
Like
is
for me, I mean,
kind of
it's
fucking
it's
boring,
amazing,
isn't it?
right? I mean, I was just this
I mean, it's,
dorky
you know,
little
it's
geeky
cool to a
Star
certain
Wars
extent,
fan
but
who
this
used to
is
draw comic books
the cool
as a
part
kid
you can put in 5
Pennsylvania
minutes.
growing up, and then here I get to hang off the back of ships and paint these amazing stern figures and things like that. So, for me, it's very emotional as well. Just like everyone, we get very passionate about our job, and there's stressful days, and it's crazy, but it comes down to your family, right? I mean, it's all about this. Work family is amazing. They support us all. We do great work with each other, and then I have an amazing supporting family at home that takes care of everything. And then we go on the ships and we see the families enjoying it, right? We see them just having that same kind of passion that we have, that we bring to building it, and they get to experience it when it's all finished. And so I love that part, and I love that my whole family gets to grow up with this cruise ship from the dream and the magic all the way up here to where we're at now.
Yeah, I sailed on the Magic 25 years ago for the first time, first cruise ever, and I wasn't even sure I was going to like a cruise. And And from the moment I was on there, I loved it. I thought this is incredible, and not just the food and the service and the shows and all that, just the whole end-to-end experience for me was just like, I love this. And so now my kids are huge fans. And to be able to work on this portfolio and do something that I know they're excited about and that they can't wait to do, it's for me, that's really, really special to be a part of that. Being a fan, being a dad who gets to take his kids on it, that's pretty cool.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I kind of echo exactly what you guys said. It was so exciting the first cruise I went on, and then to be a part of the team that helps to build them is really rewarding. And it's exciting to see the evolution of Animator's palette and where it was 25 years ago, but then 10 years later there's an upgrade, and seeing the new images and the new experience is just really rewarding.
And for me, I was born and raised in Florida, so I was a huge fan and came to the parks with my family and made those memories at Walt Disney World. So working on cruise line was actually completely new and different, and what I think is great about that is I'm experiencing those Disney stories in a completely new and different way. So while I have nostalgia for something like the theme parks, this is completely different and new and exciting for me as somebody who's working on it, but also getting to enjoy it and creating those memories.
Absolutely.
There's two things.
Oh, Jesus.
I still today get excited after
French guy wants to
many
talk
years
more.
working with or on cruise ships or whatever. Every time when I see one of our ships, it's exciting. But I think one of the things that all of it, what you said exactly, I feel that, but also humbleness. It's really humbling to be able to work on something
can French
special
people
like this. It
have?
is really, really unusual.
They be
But
humble?
working
I don't
with
know.
the most incredible people.
I don't know if they're allowed to.
I mean, it's humbling to sit here, right? We are representing an entire team of just geniuses, really. I mean, but it's all putting it together. It's that getting it all together, that complexity, the coordination of everything. It's actually quite a humbling experience. And then also at the end, see it come to life, see the crew bring the ship to life as one going, wow, we did that? Oof, how did that happen? It's really quite a humbling experience.
I've been with the company for 30 years, and the opportunity to come work on Disney Cruise Line portfolio about 7 years ago, and I thought this just adds another chapter in my Disney careers and another story for me to tell and be a part of. So it's amazing, and my family is just very supportive as well. So yes, I don't know.
All just no one cares.
Another memory.
Oops, sorry.
Boring.
Thank you for being able to share all of that. I see the clock is flashing at us, saying that we're over time. But thank you so much for taking part of this session. It really, really means a lot to us to be able to be a part of this team. But most of all, to have all of you to be able to hear these stories. We do have one little clip that we're going to show as we exit. But here's one of the plugs. We were able to actually work on a National Geographic 1 hour special on the building of the Disney Wish that really touches on all of those
haven't
things
seen
that
that
were
yet. I
discussed
still
on
got to
this
see
panel.
that.
So if you do have a chance to go on Disney Plus and Nat Geo to watch that show, it's really, really pretty amazing. So thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta watch this stupid thing. Look at this. God bless Almighty. What do you do if it doesn't line up? I mean, like, it seems wild to build it in sections, but like, what happened? Those water slides go into there you are, dude. It's a weird package because they're making it look like it's assembled in Germany, then it goes to the Netherlands for other stuff, and then it goes to Portugal for the carpet, and maybe that's exactly what's happening. But like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't think that is what would happen, but maybe. Like without an explainer, I don't know. Karen, we gotta watch the special.
Destination D23 will resume.
Hey everyone, remember how we told you this was a must-see event? I think those presentations from National Geographic
we are
and Disney Cruise Line proved our point.
Here. That's right, break. Hunter. I'm gonna flip